Welcome back to Show and Tell. I'm Billie, and today my guest is Elsa. Many of you will know her from Game of Wool. I'm sure she's done a lot of other interviews about that, so I'm not really going to dwell on that. But I did learn from watching the show that Elsa likes to knit vintage. Yay! Like probably most of the people watching. So, having said that, Elsa, oh, I haven't prepared any questions, and there's so many things I could ask you. But let's start with what got you interested in vintage? And is it only vintage knitting, or you're interested in everything vintage?
I suppose I'm interested in everything vintage. I would say that my interest comes from being very excited about history and very excited about crafts, and vintage knitting is just the perfect marriage of both of those things. But my mum has quite a bit of influence over me as well with appreciating older things and seeing the beauty in styles gone by. So yeah, a few reasons.
Is she the one who taught you to knit?
No, I'm pretty much self-taught knitting. She can knit, but never took it up as obsessively as I have. She could do the basics. I think she knitted for me when I was a baby, but didn't have the interest to keep doing more.
So when you say self-taught, what does that mean? You went on YouTube, or you were looking at books or something
Yeah,
else?
I did learn the basics from my grandmother when I was a child, but it was maybe just an hour learning how to knit and how to purl, so I could only ever do a wee rectangle of knitting, and for about 20 years that's all I could do, and I didn't see it turning into anything useful. But then I was put onto a night shift at work and found myself trawling the internet, and a knitter on there and made it look awfully easy the way she was doing it. And I thought maybe I could give that another go and try again. And I just became obsessed and went down every rabbit hole. And it's only in the last maybe 3 years that I've been interested in the vintage knitting.
Well, you certainly showed off some of the things that you wore on the show. So I know you've brought things to show my audience today. So let's jump right into it. Let's see.
Yeah. No, can I start by saying I love what you're wearing, Billy? That is gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Of course, vintage. It's the only thing I've
Absolutely.
done that has like a real padded shoulder. So this is more
Yeah.
40s. Usually I'm 30s, but
Yeah,
anyway,
I was admiring that shoulder construction there. It's beautiful.
thank you.
You're welcome. I've got quite a stack here to show you.
Okay, let's go.
Will you accept a crochet show and tell? Or is this all knitting? I have
Well, okay,
one crochet.
there might be some crochet lovers.
Okay. One for the crochet lovers. So this was a tablecloth that I recently finished. It's vintage, I believe, around 1900. And I just thought I would show that because it's very clearly a vintage style, and yeah, one for the crochet lovers.
Okay, the color's
So
beautiful. And
thank you.
the design looks very intricate. I'm sure that was not trivial to make.
Yeah, it took a long time being so fine. But on to the knitting now. So this the marble scarf is one of the things that I wore on the Game of Wool show, and I feel like a lot of people hadn't seen this scarf before. Some of the audience of Game of Wool, and thought that they might give it a go themselves because it's such a great beginner project. Um, it's got these little loops that it folds through when you wear it, and I think I'm going to have to make more of these in different colours.
I know
um,
it's very popular. I've never made one, but I see many other vintage knitters have made more than one.
yeah, it's a nice mindless one. Just to watch the telly while you're knitting. The next two things I have to show you are World War II service knits. I'm quite interested in the wartime service knitting, um, just because of that interest in history that I have, as well as how practical a lot of these things are. So the first one is these rifleman's mitts. I often find that mittens can be a wee bit impractical if I'm walking the dog or whatever.
I've never seen this.
No, so it's you've got one finger independent of the usual mitten
Oh,
structure. I think it is for riflemen, rifleman's mitts, but yeah, I quite enjoy this shape for if I'm out walking the dog. You still get the benefit of the mitten having your fingers together for warmth, but with a wee bit more flexibility.
they look very substantial, very thick.
Yes, these are in an Aran weight wool,
Ah,
so they're quite chunky. I think they're men's ones as well, actually. So I needed to size them down, but they've started to felt because I use them quite a lot, which just makes them even cozier, I suppose. And then the next service knit is a tuck-in, that you wear just to sort of keep this area warm under your jacket. This is far too small for for anybody. I think this was before I really understood how gauge worked.
well,
But
how big is your dog? It might fit your dog.
oh, that is a good idea.
You could just put some
Maybe
little straps on the side to hold the front and the back.
I think you could be
I
right with
th
that.
I
That's
mean,
a
I thought
good
that's what it
idea.
was.
Yeah,
If you
that is
don't
a good
have a
idea.
gigantic dog.
Yeah, no, I think this might fit him.
And then,
Well,
you just can put like a little ring around to hold the back onto the tail.
yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
At the moment, all I've used it for, it sits in my wardrobe on a hanger, and I put brooches on it, just to sort of display brooches. But I
Ah,
prefer the dog coat idea.
well, the dog can wear brooches too.
You can. While I'm on the topic of service knits, the jumper that I'm wearing now is a women's service knit from World War Two. It's called the Up to Your Neck jumper. Um, and I know from the first episode of Game of Wool where I wore it, there were lots of people wondering what pattern is that because it couldn't be found anywhere, but it's in a Best Way brochure from World War Two. And I just thought it was so you could wear this and look smart or casual. It's just so
Timeless.
yeah. And I often just wear it with jeans and it still looks so smart, but so minimal effort. I'd love to make another one in another color soon.
Where do you typically find your patterns? Where did you find that brochure, for example?
So this brochure, it's called Woolies for Wardens, and it is available through membership of the Knitting and Crochet Guild in the UK.
In the UK.
Um, yeah, they have a fabulous collection of vintage knitwear patterns. A lot of the booklets you can just download straight away, but they also have single patterns, pictures and pictures of them, which you can request if you see one that you like the look of.
Is that typically where you get your patterns from?
That is one of the main resources, and the other one is charity shops, or maybe you might call it a thrift store.
Right.
I go in there and I have a good rummage, and I just like to give them a home because I know a lot of people don't see the value in them. And I'm glad that people think to donate them instead of just throwing them out at least. So yeah, those are my two main resources. I would say the Knitting and Crochet Guild and charity shops.
I maybe need to join that guild. I've heard of it before. It's not
Yeah,
horribly expensive and you have access to a lot.
yeah, it's definitely been worth my while. For the like they do 30s patterns as well. They've got it all categorized, so you can have a look and yeah, they've got a very good collection. Where do we want to go next? 40s or 50s?
40s.
40s. Okay. So these are two that you will recognize from Game of Wool.
Mm.
This is the chevron stripe jumper. And I knit mine using Cascade Heritage wool, 4 ply. It's kind of hard to see in this light, but it's a deep green, dark purple, lilac, lime, and then this moss stitch at the top. Got little purple buttons as well that are a wee
Oh,
bit glitzy.
lovely.
Yeah, again, another one I love just because of how easy it is to look put together when you're wearing this. Um, Casual or smart, just instantly look well put together. Um,
Another classic that I have not knit.
yeah, it's a common one, isn't it? You see quite a lot of people making it. Speaking of the classic vintage knits that people do, this is the lavender rainbow jumper.
So I
Um,
just watched Home Fires because my previous guest highly recommended it, and I'm pretty sure that somebody was wearing that. Yeah, it is
okay, I've heard
another
of it
really
actually.
popular one.
Yeah, I'll need to watch that program. I tried to replicate the colors from the film Jojo Rabbit.
Uh-huh.
Scarlett Johansson wore this as well. Um, I've got little blue buttons on the shoulder to close it off. Yep, I
Buttons
like.
buttons can really enhance a sweater so much. I think a lot of people don't really spend a lot of time or, put a lot of thought into choosing the just right button. Maybe they don't have access, but it enhances the project so, infinitely.
Yeah,
Those are great.
agreed. I think you just know when you're trying different buttons, it's got to be this one. And it shows you how important it is when you do hold them up against the garment. What a big difference it makes, the buttons you use.
When I go shopping for buttons, I always have, even if the sweater's not finished, I always have it with me because, yes, I want to see it. And I've eliminated many buttons that people might have thought would go well because when I saw it, it wasn't telling the story I wanted to tell.
Yeah. No, I get quite excited about button shopping because you've done all this work on your knitted garment. You want the finishing touches to be just right and to complement it. Um,
Luckily, I have access to this fabulous woman. She only comes to shows. She doesn't have a website. So twice a year when I go to the big shows, VKL and Rhinebeck, she's there. One year she was sick and I was distraught because
you missed her.
I was like counting on getting a button from her, but I can almost
Oh,
always find almost like the perfect button from her.
yeah. Oh, that's cool. I'd love to. I seen your video on the Vogue knitting event. It looked fabulous.
Well, you should come.
I would love to, and Rhinebeck as well. I would be in my element.
It's a shame they're not closer together so people could do both if they're traveling a long way. But
Yeah,
it's tiring. I mean, it's not so tiring for me because I'm nearby to both of them. But I think for somebody who, travels a long way to get here, you're probably exhausted before you even begin. And they're multi-days and you're just absorbing so much information so rapidly. I think it probably is
yeah,
tiring for
quite full on.
visitors.
Yeah. Oh no,
But come for one of them at least to have you been to New York?
never. No,
Okay,
I'd
then you gotta
love
come.
to. Yeah,
No
definitely.
ifs, ands, or buts. You must come.
Absolutely. I would love to. My mum and dad went a couple of years ago for an anniversary and they were just mesmerized by the place, the smells, the atmosphere. They said it's just incredible city.
Well, they don't have to twist my arm. I think so. And now having just been to Tokyo, another very, very big city, I can make the comparison and see why New York is so special to me and why I call it home.
Yeah. No, it's a very cool place to call home for sure. So I'll move us on to the 50s now.
Okay.
So this is another jumper that I wore on the Game of Wool. It is called Soft as a Spider's Web, a 1950s pattern. And this is another one where buttons are a critical detail. I've put little spiderweb buttons.
Oh, are you lucky to have found those? I thought they were going to be skeletons, but
Oh
those
no.
are, oh,
Yeah, and you've got
how did you find those?
wood and metal.
Oh, come on.
Perfect, aren't they? Um, so This one was quite an unusual construction for me, at least. I hadn't come across one like this before. So you knit front, back, and sleeves, and then join them in a raglan, but not around the neck, just around the shoulders. And then you pick up around that edge and knit the yoke flat on top of the raglan. So it was quite
You
unusual.
lost me. You lost me. You're starting at the bottom?
Yes, in
Okay.
four pieces. And then you connect them, but it only goes up so far as your shoulders.
Okay.
And then you pick up all the way around and knit the yoke flat.
And knit the yoke flat.
Yes, because it's got this opening at the back. So it was a bit of a wrestling match with my straight needles. So I did eventually go for the circulars just to give myself a bit of ease while I was moving. Um, but yeah, it was an unusual construction.
Very. I'm glad I asked you to clarify that because I've never heard of that. And for people who are maybe new to vintage, I'll just chime in here and say this is one of the real pleasures of knitting vintage. There's a lot of obstacles there, it's not straightforward, it's not simple, but the pleasure comes in something like that you've never seen before and you're doubting whether it's going to work and then suddenly it all comes together and even though you didn't understand where the pattern was taking you like down this dark alleyway suddenly like there it is, aha, I see it.
Yeah,
You don't get that in a contemporary pattern, you just don't.
no, that's
So if
exactly
you're
why I love it.
adventurous, sorry, if you're adventurous, you want to be knitting from vintage patterns because there's always that little twist, always that little surprise. That's a
Yes,
great one.
absolutely. You're spot on there. That's why I love vintage patterns because I feel like everyone I've done so far has brought a little surprise on how to do something that I've maybe done before, but they're describing to do it in a different way, or constructions like this. I've had a few odd constructions. Speaking of crochet as well, the way they chart it, it's so different, and I like the puzzle of working out a vintage pattern. It just adds so much more to the experience of knitting, I feel.
I've encountered a lot of people who are in the sciences, like, STEM, science, math, technology, engineering. And I think that may be the reason this quest for getting your question answered, solving a puzzle, the willingness to experiment, all kind
Hmm.
of scientific things. So, every time I meet somebody and I find out, oh, they're an engineer, I'm like, okay, there's like a theme here. And I've always tried to figure out like, what is it? Which brings me to the question, like, outside of knitting, do you have a profession
I do. I'm an executive assistant, so I assist the CEO of a ferry company
of a
here on the
what?
West Coast. Ferry company, like
Oh, ferry, like ferry
aircraft.
boats.
Yep.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that could be very logistical and scientific.
got to be very organized at least, which I must admit I'm not in my personal life. I save all my organizational skills for the job, and then
And for
my
knitting,
yeah, true. You do have to be quite methodical with your knitting. I feel like I've become more methodical after my experience on the Game of Wool. It definitely changed my attitude to how much time I'm spending knitting. And if I make a mistake, I used to be far more likely to just write it off in the past and just let myself away with it. But now I'm much more inclined to go back and make it right because I've spent so much time on it. You don't need to hurry on to the next thing. You can sit and get this one right because it'll last longer. You'll have so much more love for it when it's done. Um, Because before I was thinking, oh, who's judging? But then on Game of Wool, there were judges actually judging. But it's changed how my, my level of forgiveness for mistakes.
I think also that comes with experience
Hmm.
and having support. I know I've mentioned it a number of times on this show that very often my size is not the size of the pattern. And sometimes my first pass, I don't quite get it right. And it was my husband who said, well, you're never going to wear it with the arm being bulbous like that. It makes you look so fat. So why don't you rip it out and do it over, and then you'll have something that you'll be happy to wear. And it's a bitter pill to swallow, but the more you do it, the more experience you get doing that, you
Yeah,
realize you love to knit. So you are going to be knitting. You're just going to be knitting twice as much. Okay, what's wrong with that? Plus, there's the added benefit of you're not spending the money to
yeah,
knit a second thing. It's like the same expenditure, but now you're passing through twice. So, there's that element if people are budget conscious. But
yeah.
he's really right that you're not going to like it and you're
Yep, no,
probably not
totally.
going to wear it. And then what does that do for you? So I rip out an awful lot of stuff. But for a newbie knitter, they're hanging on to like every stitch. So I think that just comes with, the more you knit, I think, the more willing you are to probably say like, okay, I can do
Yeah,
better.
the
So you
better a
probably
read you
reach
have.
that point. And then I know people like Holger, he was probably like in that camp, like, it's not right. I'm not, I could just imagine him with his German precision saying like, no, this won't do.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, definitely not somebody who would go and fudge something later on or, yeah, best
No,
to get it
that's
right. If you know you can get it right, it's worth going back that wee bit and fixing it just to make sure you're happy with it. Because although although the outside world might not see your mistakes as
you know.
magnified as you will, it's all you'll see.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. So I've definitely learned to get a better read on when to rip back and just suck it up and get it back to good shape.
Sounds like that song. You got to know when to hold, know when to fold
Yeah,
the
the
poker.
gambler.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But
Well, I'm glad that you took that away from the show. I'm glad that you benefited in that way. That's great.
yeah, no, it was a masterclass, the show, because knitting's such a personal thing, and you sort of do it by yourself most of the time, or at least I did, and I just learned so many different things from different people, techniques that I knew from doing vintage patterns that I didn't know had modern names, um, like the mattress stitch. I had been doing that for a long, long time, not knowing it even had a name
Oh.
until I went on Game of Wool and I was asked, "So you're going to mattress stitch that?" And I just said, "Yeah." So now I know that some of the things I already knew actually have names. I do feel that being a vintage knitter was wonderful preparation for a show like the Game of Wool and for that competition, because vintage knitting, every time you're knitting something, I feel like you're almost rewriting it for yourself because of size, whatever yarn you're using that's not going to be the same as the vintage one. So you're just piecing together what the pattern's telling you and comparing it with what you've got to work with, your sizes, your yarn. And I feel like being able to do that was a real advantage for me in the competition and the skills that vintage knitting has taught me.
Also
I
knitting in pieces.
Yep, definitely. For shape, constructing garments and
Right.
just constructing anything, I suppose. It was great practice. And I never realised until after the show that so many knitters now are actually quite reluctant to do any seaming because they've maybe learned top-down jumpers in the round and are quite hesitant to take on a job with lots of seaming and Yeah, people asking,
People
how do you
like
get it
to
neat?
knit. They like that motion. They like the serenity of doing that, the Zen state they can get into. And I have
Hmm.
one gal in my knitting group, Gail. She sends her stuff out to somebody to assemble it for her
Oh,
because
wow.
she wants to use that time knitting.
Yeah, well, fair enough, I suppose, if you're getting what you want from it.
Right. To me, it's just part of the process. In the beginning, which goes back for me a very long time, I was reluctant too, because it's a diversion. It's not knitting. It's like, seaming.
Hmm.
And in the beginning, it took me a long time. Like I would do every single stitch. Now I know I can skip over periodically. I
Yep.
might jump two and it'll be okay. So I'm faster at it and I feel more confident when I approach putting something together. It's not daunting, but in the beginning, that was like a whole separate skill
Yeah.
and very foreign to me. And I shied away from doing it. Now it's just part of the process. In fact, with my vintage knits, it's an interesting part of the process. So I look forward, like I'm working on something now that has a very wide collar and a panel across the top of the back and the sleeves. I don't even know how they're going in because it's not a regular set-in sleeve because of the collar shape. Something different is going to happen in here, I think. I'm not sure. So
Mhm.
I'm kind of looking forward to assembling it because I want to see how all these pieces are going to go together. It's not just front, back, and two sleeves. There's other
Mhm.
parts to it. So,
Yeah. Oh, and I like that when you kind of just wait and see when you get there.
well, you have no choice.
Yeah. No, that'll be interesting to, and I like when you get something that's a wee bit like I always enjoy the sleeves in vintage patterns because you've got extra up here sometimes, and it's how you bunch it up and make it look nice. I just like that that's not written. You just have to do it.
One thing that I knit, the sleeve cap, if you will, had like two prongs that came up and you had to like fold them under one another. It might have been this actually, now that I
Ah,
think of it. I'm not
yeah.
sure. No, no, it was a jacket that I made, 1940s also with kind of like a built-up shoulder. Very
Mhm.
unusual sleeve construction. So it wasn't just a matter of gathering it or pleating it at the top. This had like parts,
Ah, yep.
which is very
Architecture.
interesting. And it gives you a specific shape shoulder and a stiffness to it without needing a shoulder pad. Like these, I
Hmm.
had to knit a little shoulder pad for inside of, but that, no, it's like ready made because it's
Yeah. Oh,
super
wow.
thick there.
Hmm.
And
Like
when you're
knitting.
knitting it and the pattern is telling you to do this, there's no schematic. So you're going like, am I sure I'm reading this correctly? Like, I don't understand what they're telling me to do because you've never seen that before.
Yeah.
That, for me personally, is just so much fun. It's
Yep.
always like a curveball, like surprise, like a piñata, like you smack it and you don't know what's going to come out. It's fun.
Yeah, it is. I love that. It's and every pattern I've had has had something like that in there. Like, what should this look like? Um, and I just like how simply put a lot of the instructions are. Like, and they can be in a single column in a magazine,
Right.
but modern patterns are pages and pages of instructions. And yeah, I just like how simplified it is. And if you don't know how to do something, well, go and learn it. That's the attitude I feel like you have to have with vintage knitting, and that suits me.
Right. Like they don't always say yarn over. They might
Yeah.
use some other term, and that other term in contemporary language means something completely different.
Hmm.
And then you go on Ravelry and you just shop it around in different forums and see, has anybody else encountered this term? What does it mean? Like knit straight. Well, that could mean different
Yeah.
things. Are you staying in pattern and just not making any increases or decreases? It really so much depends on the specific pattern. So
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
I'm glad we're in agreement on that. It's fun.
It is. It's a mystery to solve. It adds more to it. I think this jumper here was full of um not I don't want to say mistakes, but it increased out very, very sharply at the from the waist to the bust, and it left almost like a bat wing shape to it. And the sleeves were very, very oversized, but I had to knit it all to find this out basically. Before I had to make a few wee changes. There's a fold on the inside of this with lots of extra material. I just seamed it up with those bits inside. I don't feel it when I wear it, but
Did you say
yeah,
it was a man's pattern?
this is a female
A
pattern.
female pattern. Oh.
Yeah, but it is a World War II service one. I don't know if you can see it. Don't want to flash you, but there are two folds here that I sort
Yes,
of had
got
to
it.
tuck in just to get rid of that extra fabric.
Hmm. I wonder if they had equipment that they needed to put underneath.
Maybe it was supposed to be, or maybe there was only one picture of it, so maybe what I thought the jumper actually was supposed to look like was slightly different. Maybe I didn't, because in the picture she had her arms down, the model. So maybe it does have a wider bit here that you just don't see in the picture, but
Or
I
maybe
preferred it.
they or maybe they made a mistake and they were covering it
Maybe,
up. I know in
yeah.
a lot of fashion magazines today, they cinch it in the back and they have a clamp that's holding it all together. And everybody thinks, oh, look how great that fits because she's a model and she's got a perfect figure.
It's all
No.
clumped up.
Yeah, they've taken it in the back to make it just right for her. So
Yeah,
that might be what they did. They might have like pulled it
maybe.
in there and hold your
Yeah.
arms down so no one can see.
Just fold that bit out of the way. Yeah, my friend was knitting it at the same time, and she encountered the same issues, and so we weren't alone. We had a support system while we were realizing all these problems with it. But yeah, it's a good knit anyway.
All's well that ends well.
Exactly. So I've run out of things to show you.
Well,
Um.
what's on the mannequin?
Oh yes, this is my latest cast off. It's a late 1970s cardigan, a lace one. And I, yes, it's Sirdar, and I knitted it in Rowan felted tweed yarn. Um, I wondered whether the tweed yarn might distract from the lace and make it look less defined, but I think it looks quite good in the end. And then this beret here is a design from Di Gilpin, one of the judges on the Game of Wool. So in the final episode of the Game of Wool, I make a hat with a Morse code patch in it, a little nod to knitters who would gather intelligence in their knitwear during wartime. And when I was talking to Di on set about my Morse code patch and the design, she was really familiar with knitting's role in intelligence and said that she actually had her own pattern inspired by that. So although this design isn't vintage, it's vintage inspired because it's called the Coda Berry, and it's inspired by a particular code breaker at Bletchley Park. So we had a wee bonding moment over that, and as soon as I knew she had that pattern, I had to make it.
Is it called Bletchley Park or does it have a different name?
It's called Coda.
Coda. Okay.
Yeah, so it's
It's great.
nice colours too. I liked making that one, but because of that little Bletchley Park reference, I had to make it.
I make a lot of berets. I like to have at least something for each sweater.
Ah,
Because
yeah, to
usually I'm
go.
wearing sweater in cold weather, so I want to have a little hat.
Yeah,
And they're
I've
pretty
never.
quick and classic. And once you have a shape and like a pattern that you like, it's easy to do it with different yarns and different weights of yarn.
Yeah, I like that idea. Just to put my leftover yarn into a matching hat or an accessory to go with whatever jumper I've made.
Also,
Oh,
good tip, a lot of people play yarn chicken. They want to buy like exactly the right amount of yarn to knit their sweater, and then you fall short 10 yards or whatever. If you buy extra yarn, then you don't have to play yarn chicken. And the bonus is you have enough yarn left over to make some kind of a little hat or some
yeah,
other accessory.
yeah, I like that thinking.
So,
Oh, thank you.
overbuy, but you're not really overbuying. You're just giving yourself the comfort level of not having to worry down to the last, row of your bind off.
Yeah,
And you
maybe a
get,
bonus berry.
yeah, or mittens or something. How
Yeah,
how much does a Miss Marple scarf require? Do you know?
less than 100 grams. That one was, so you could probably get a matching marble scarf. That's a good idea.
And if you didn't have 100 grams, you could make the scarf a little narrower, a little shorter. I mean, you could tinker with that. The little
Yeah.
rings, maybe make them narrower.
Hmm.
So, you could
Yeah.
probably get by with less if you had less.
Hmm. No, I like that idea. Definitely going to round up from now on on my yarn quantity.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not always easy to swallow that, but
Yep.
there is an upside if you do.
Yeah.
Just saying. So your background looks really interesting. That looks like the famous wallpaper. I forget the name of it. There's like a name for the wallpaper that they use at the Beverly Hills Hotel that has those
Oh,
banana leaves. I don't know if that's it, but it's got that
ah,
real like,
cool.
20s Hollywood vibe.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. This is my bedroom and I'm in, and I kind of wanted it to look a bit 20s, so I'm very glad you think so. I'll have to check out that wallpaper.
And the photographs are those people or those movie stars?
Yeah. Movie stars, famous people. I haven't changed the pictures. I've lived here for 8 years now, and the pictures have remained the same. Unfortunately, some of the people were alive when they went up on the wall, but have since passed away. But we've got Hedy Lamarr up there,
Hmm.
um, Vera Lynn, Doris Day. Um, yeah, quite a few. I've got some pictures of old American diners. And there's a dance hall in Glasgow, my nearest city, called the Barrel and Ballroom, and it's got these wonderful neon lights. It's quite a famous place because I think it's one of the only places with a floor that bounces when there's
Oh,
people dancing on it,
oh,
or
oomph.
it's spring floor. I'm not sure, but it's quite a special venue, and there's a picture of it there too. Yeah,
Love the vintage phone too. But this is a good
thank you.
place for me to pop my question in, my question that I ask all of my guests about where you're coming to us from. And if we're visiting your town, what should we see that we wouldn't find in a guidebook?
Okay. Well, I am from the west coast of Scotland, in North Ayrshire, in a town called Largs. My town is famous for ice cream and Vikings, a very odd combination, but there was a Viking battle here in the 1200s, I believe. So there's Viking statues, Viking longships, and a Viking festival here every year. Um, and ice cream as well. I believe that there's a lot of Italian influence in this area, and the Italians started amazing ice cream shops and chip shops in this area. So that's what my town is famous for. But somewhere I would recommend you go, that's not on the guidebooks, is a viewpoint up the back of the town, because you can see right across the Clyde River, across the islands of Arran, Cumbria, Bute. There's an island called Ailsa Craig as well, which was named after.
Oh.
That's also known as Paddy's Milestone because it's the halfway point as the crow flies between Belfast and Glasgow. So you can see that it's quite striking in the distance. and the view is just incredible, but it won't be on any guidebook.
Well, thank you for that information. I have visited Scotland and really enjoyed it. You mentioned Glasgow. I loved Glasgow and Edinburgh both a lot because I went to Shetland Wool Week, so we started
Oh,
there.
yep. Oh, I'd love to go to that. That's on my bucket list.
Well, it's easy for you. I mean,
Yeah, not to.
you're
I've got
at
no
least
excuse.
not, a world away. But
Yep.
getting there, it is a little tricky.
Yeah, did you take the ferry or
We
did you
took the
fly?
ferry. We took the ferry.
Yep.
I was afraid of the flight. They made the flight sound like what can be really bumpy. And I've had one of those white knuckle flights in the United States. And I thought, no, I'm not interested in risking that.
Yep.
The ferry, we were lucky. That's all I can say because we had a smooth crossing in both directions. But we met people while we were um, I guess when we were in Lerwick, we met these guys. One of them said he spent the whole night tossing his cookies
Oh
just the
gosh.
night after our crossing. So I was like, but my
Oh,
husband and I, we brought Dramamine with us and we took it as a preventative measure,
yeah.
like just in case, because you don't want to wait for it to get rocky and then like, oops,
Yep.
the medicine doesn't have time to kick in. So we took it both ways just in case.
That's a good
But
idea.
I knew that we were in for a surprise because you go to the cafeteria to, get your food, and I saw the chairs were attached by like chains, hooks and chains attached to the
Yep.
floor. And I thought, ooh, that must mean that those chairs have a tendency to like fly off the floor.
Yep.
I was like, oh, what have we done? I was nervous the whole time, but we were
But you timed
lucky.
it
And
well.
I'm glad that I went because of that, I might not ever go back. I don't know.
Yep. No, oh, I had a bit of a time recently on a ferry. The weather has started to get quite bad, and they said we can get you on the freight boat back, the late night sailing with all the lorries and trucks on it, just to miss the bad weather. And I thought, okay, I'll do that. But it was swaying, and like you say, the chairs were bolted down, but they still swiveled. So when I was leaning on the chair, it swiveled out the way. Oh gosh. But got
I
there
would
in
think the bigger the ship and the heavier, so like you're saying, these trucks filled with goods probably makes it a more stable thing. But even
Mhm.
that is tossed around like a toy
Yeah,
boat. Ugh.
makes
Well,
you queasy just thinking about it.
yeah, yeah. I'm glad I went and I'm glad I got lucky. And Shetland wool was not for me. So I wasn't like pining to fill up my suitcase with
Hmm.
Jameson's. So, okay. And it's available in New York. J&S
Ah,
and
okay, yeah.
Jameson's, they're here
Yep. So you don't
in
need to go all the way
all
to Shetland.
in all the colors that you could ever dream of.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Do you use Shetland wool since you are in Scotland?
I've never used it,
No.
not yet. For my Christmas just there though, my parents got me a kit from Jameson's, I believe, to make a baby blanket in the traditional way with the belt and the long needles. So I'm going to give that a try. Um, it's a Viking themed project. It's called the Uphellia Hap. That's the Viking festival up in Shetland, which
Right.
I'd love to go to as well. But yeah, I've not tried any Shetland knitting or Shetland wool, but that project will be my first.
Well, I think if you're going to do Farah, it's good to have that yarn. I did a Farah project not in Shetland wool, and when I was steeking, I was holding my breath, and I had freight check, which is some kind of like fabric glue, in my other
Okay.
hand. Yeah,
Just to
yeah.
I'm about to do my first steek. I've never steeked before, but I'm currently working on a Susan Crawford. jumper, the majestic.
It was Susan Crawford.
Was it? In fact, I've got it here.
What kind of wool are you using?
I'm using Susan's own vanilla wool.
Okay.
Um,
But
it's
it's not sticky, is it?
it's got a nice
Like a
stickiness.
halo.
Yeah, it's gripping. Definitely gripping at the back. But it's really, really beautiful. Um, Lovely stuff. I'm excited for the steak.
Looks beautiful. Yes, I've heard about that yarn. I know someone who knit with it, and she said, it was just like dreamy to knit with.
It is a pleasure to knit so far. I think I have three more bands of that coloured chart there before I start inserting my steek stitches.
All of her sweaters have a story. I interviewed her on this channel,
Yes.
stories to go with them. And that looks like one that she might have spoken about. Are those the colors that she has in her
Yep.
book? Yeah.
Yeah. It's the volume three, A Stitch in Time colour work edition.
Mm.
Um, there we go. That's the jumper there, finished.
It,
Really
yours
nice.
looks very beautiful.
Thank you. I'm excited to see it grow.
Well, good luck with that. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I really appreciate it. I was a little reluctant to approach you because I thought you must be deluged with people now that you're a big celebrity.
Oh, thank you so much for asking me. It's been a joy. You've been such a lovely host. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna be like all the Olympians, that little heart. Thanks for saying that.
Oh, no problem at
You
all.
know what? Those hearts just came up. I didn't,
Hey,
I, because I did that.
it appeared. Oh, how do we do that?
It, wow.
That
But
was
it
cool.
only did it once.
Yeah,
Zoom, put that in there for me.
that is clever.
Wow.
Will it give me a thumbs up? No?
I, I'm dumbfounded. I never expected that. That was
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, well, every day's a school day.
Elsa, thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you, Billy.
Take care. I want to see that happen again. Come on, Zoom.
It's worked for you. There we go.
How fun is that? I just want to keep doing it.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I
At
need to
first,
do
I thought it
something.
only does it once, but I guess it has to recognize that it's a heart.
Yeah,
My
no
heart's not so
problem.
good.
There we go.
It has to really have the
Keep
heart
pressing.
shape.
Yeah. How did this? Nope.
You might have some setting turned off that it's not
Maybe
gonna
boring
happen.
mode.
What'd you say, boring mode?
Yeah. You've got fun mode switched on. Oh, you're too good at this.
Well, I see a little thing pop up over my chat button. It gives me like an indication. Maybe it's like a little timer or something that it's acknowledging, like, we see your heart. Yeah,
Oh,
a little icon popped up.
oh,
I might
oh.
have a later version of Zoom than you have.
Maybe I'm not used to Zoom. Maybe I'm got a different view. Oh, we got your little love hearts anyway. Whee! Lovely.
Just sit here and do that all day. That's me more fun than knitting. All right, we're being silly. Let me stop here.